Part 2. A female entrapment. Murder business that they've done to me.
The second entrapment, again, before I moved to that condo, I moved to a place called Belmar, which is in a Catholic or a Christian neighborhood, where there's like 4 Christian churches all surrounding this neighborhood.
Also known as Camp Taylor.
I didn't know that. I saw the one church, and I was like, oh, no big deal, a church. You know, I went to Catholic school. Even though I'm an ominous eclectic, you know, I went to Catholic school, so I don't care about churches. They hadn't really con hustle hit me, except for all that bullshit was ambiguous of what was going on. So, anyway, at Belmar is on a hill. Okay. So I move in there, and then they start moving in neighbors. Because that's all they do. They move in murder business neighbors. And then Belmar, they're like, oh, it's freaking Belmar on a hill. It's illegal murder business time. So they moved in the real Italian mafia guy on one side, and then a whack on the other. Like a white-ass coon who's going to tail me around like Davy Crockett over here. And so he had the same Jeep, but a better model, which was a Jeep Liberty. Okay. And then he was stalking me, while then they did a whole scene where I'm in my bathroom looking out the window, and the mailman, who's a black guy, brings up with the mail a mail order bride, female doppelganger, to the Italian mafia. And that...
By the way, on the second day I lived in that house, I noticed he had the same Jeep. The better Jeep. Okay? And this is right during the presidential elections. So anyway, that's where, like, I pull in my driveway one time in my Jeep, and I get out my Jeep, and then he pulls in. Or he actually parks in front of his house with the Jeep, and then walks up while I'm like getting groceries out. And I'm like, hold on. So I go over to him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? This thing and that, oh, you just moved in. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, I know you got the same Jeep there, but you have a 2019. I didn't know that. I was like, that's like a new model. Mine's 2010. This is in about 2021. No, 2020. This is in 2020. And so I was like, that's a real fucking bitch move, you having the same Jeep, same car. I know that's a better Jeep. Okay. And that's a same Jeep. Is that a Jesus move? Same Jeep or what? And then like a boogeyman Jesus on this? What is going on? And like he didn't like that I said that was a bitch move. And so we got into it. And then they started attacking, and that's where I decided to move. And that's where I moved to Waterford Place. But I couldn't sell the house. So I moved back to there for about 6 months before I sold that house.
their whole murder business, bimbo, floozy there. And then they harassed me too much. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. And that's why I'm moving around. I got into that condo. But at that Belmar, they had a scene where the tree in my front yard was dead. So it was like dead tree, Donald Trump.
And by the way, when I moved to Waterford Place is where Joe Biden turned president. And then I moved back to Belmar because I couldn't sell the house. I only had a 3-month lease.
It fell on top of that Jeep that guy had, on the better Jeep for Joe Biden. And it was right there. Like, that time is right when Joe Biden turned president. Because I wanted to move, and I went and moved to Waterford Place, which is right by where the apartments where Obama was elected president. But anyway, so they had a dead tree fall on a better Jeep. But I had sold the house a couple months before, so I didn't get sued. Okay, that was all on whoever lived there at the time. And I had already sold the house too. Okay. So then after, let's get back to the neighbor address entrapment. So again, that was 4 years from 2013 to 2017, and then 4 years to 2021. Okay, and then they came back 4 years and 4 months later, where I now live at the Graveyard Projects. Okay, and exactly 4 months, 4 years later, which happened to be February 2026. 4 years, 4 months later from 2021 October, was February 2026, where they attempted to do, because it's by the graveyard, the bubonic plague dollar hustle of the Reaper. So they did an execution entrapment. Now this is for the handle of the illegal overreach tyranny gavel, because they already had the O's in October, but they ended up mishitting because I had a heavy couch, and everything was based on forced entry over the ferryman.
Sorry, that dead tree, better Jeep scenario made me have to take a shit. I'm back.
And I had that heavy couch, so they couldn't get in. And then I called the fire department, or I called 911, who let me know that was the fire department breaking into my home where there was no alarms going off and they were unannounced. And their whole flag hustle of me murdering a fireman and getting execution entrapment. Or they were going to kill me for attacking whoever came in the door, because I was ready to kill somebody. I'm at 3 and there's 4 across the hall, so it was about the castle doctrine and then the hallway hustle. So yeah, castle doctrine hustle, 4th century ferryman, Grim Reaper execution entrapment. And so 2 years before they hit me on
of course, of the Reaper police.
They hit me on exactly Groundhog Day. That, like 2 hours after it turned Groundhog Day. Oh, and also the house across the street was 222. So February 2nd.
On El Dorado. There's 217 where they hit me, 221 where they hit me. The only two times I've been locked up in Louisville jail. And then 222 was across the street.
Okay, 2026. So, like 2 years before they did the entrapment on Groundhog Day, over I think the Gravedigger, they moved in like, there's only 6 and then 6 apartments. It's like an apartment building that has 2 sides. 6 apartments in one, 6 in the other. Like a Reaper scythe, an FL. So they moved in all these veterans. And one of them was the maintenance man, and he was the inside job who cut the alarms. But they were representing the rats. And the rat was the maintenance man who cut the alarms. And also, the fire was at his place. And he was at 6, and his name was Charlie, like the Sheriff the ferryman. And he was fat and chubby. Okay, so he lit his place on fire and cut the alarms. And then the fleas of the bubonic plague were the local firemen. Okay, but of course they did miss him. And then, so now, the whole time...
Boogeyman Ham! You know, you gotta watch out taking hush money. Because then they can blackmail you and get their money back. So it doesn't even matter what the amount of money is. Because they'll blackmail you for taking the hush money and being involved in covering up a crime. Watch out taking hush money. Christmas Ham, Boogeyman Ham.
On top of all of that, they were also doing racial insult rape with a black veteran next door. And of course it was Cat.
It also says C and D, and he lives in D, so they did the Cupid Valentine's Day VA hustle.
So Doctrine Hustle for that, but then they switched it up to Cupid Hustle VA. So there they have the polygamy divorce con and rape Valentine's Day. Okay, with hitting a bunch of female doppelgangers that they were extortion raping over the Ferryman Grim Reaper and then the and Freedom Hustles, where they were kidnapping women, female entrapment, and then raping them with a black man, a black veteran, over Cupid VA. And the police were the one feeding them to them over the polygamy hustle. And of course, peers and prostitutes. So they have something with peers and then prostitutes to then cover it up and then reverse blame Reaper and Brown also.
I also remember they're doing the priest rape punishment and president rape punishment, principal rape punishment.
Blaming them, calling them prostitutes. Okay, and also I'm at 3 in the middle, and then we're back with the marriage con. And then, it's 6 and 6 Flower Girl. But then they have the Boiler Room 13. for the ring bearer and rape bait. Okay. And then what else they do? They moved in Middle Easterns next door in a condo. And they have children. So I'm at 3 in the middle. They did a Merry Christmas. They started hitting me on Christmas 2024, the last Christmas in Alpha. They started hitting me with Middle Eastern children, like astral projecting into my home with children. And then after they were harassing me, they reverse blamed and started demanding that the veteran is raping women, like a children backronym of demanding rape.
And also, I'll remind you that Latino has LAT in it, and they're doing labor trafficking. Because using children in a entrapment or sting, the police can't do it, because that goes against child welfare laws, where they're not allowed to consent to being exploited or put in danger in any way. So it's the opposite end of, let's say, a pedophile adult is not allowed to sleep with a minor, or that's rape, because they're not allowed to consent. It's the opposite end. So them moving them in as a group hustle, that's considered labor trafficking. And then it goes into human trafficking, because they're using the children to do crime. Again, on the opposite end of trafficking.
Okay, over the children, and then and that had to do with the VR. So I look up VR porn, and they were doing the veteran rape VR porn, based upon they claim that.
And also, my name is Joe, so opposite end, OE. And my only means of transportation is a scooter at the moment.
Children knew I was jacking off, and then would demand the black guy rapes women. And his name, like, has a DR in it. And then there was Charlie, which is those children. And they lived above and below each other, Charlie and Andre. And so they're demanding,
like, murder business masturbation, basically. And no, I don't have anything set up at anyone. And, I have expectation of privacy. And I don't intend on sexually harassing anyone, not to mention children. I'm not a pedophile.
rape over VR porn and doing veteran rape. Okay, and that's where we're left now. Because they don't have anything, they mishit on their illegal gavel handle, rock and roll rap kind of represent a place. So that's what's been going on. And, it's all a scam, like I mentioned, a soul-based scam, where they get these look-alike harem. And that's the police polygamy hustle, is the hallway. The look-alike harem. Polygamy, police hustle, alpha, bimbo entrapment beta. Bloody Mary murder boogeyman murder business. And of course, if you notice, all the top right states is like half of this stuff. Like they ambushed me with veterans, so at Maine, and then New Hampshire, Vermont, with neighbor hired veterans. And by the way, the veterans all had a name con on me. I'm the only, they're all civilians too now, but I'm the only person who wasn't in the military in this section of 6. They were all veterans. And so they moved in above me, Jacob, to the side, Andre, to the bottom, Summer, an African-American Army veteran playing the Bloody Mary who attacked my bed for 2 years with straight up weapons at me, doing murder mimics of Bloody Mary murdering. And then to the caddy corner was Charlie, because my initials are JAS3. So they...
And also, with the name con, they've been doing illegal street justice attacks, and then overreach judicial entrapments.
Did the New York name con and all for like Summer to be torturing my bed over BET. And then now Andre with the racial insult, Rhode Island, sex slave, Massachusetts bullshit, and then all their tyranny and this stuff. And organized crime Connecticut is like.
Also, right beyond the apartment, opposite of the condos, with the townhouse condo terror cell, and then the rape for TR. The other direction, there's 2 streets. They both are named with N's at the beginning. And then that's where they have the marked camera. Looks like a normal street camera, but it's not. I'm at 3 in the middle, so they got marked camera. And that's where they're doing all the hits. This also gets into a whole deal with Parkinson's disease, where they've been making me shake. The guy next door also has a punching bag in the hallway. He's 4 in the middle, and there's 12 apartments. So you got Muhammad Ali here, claiming I dodged the 9/11 war, and I'm a volunteer dodger on a devil note, Democrat hustle devil note, where they were rearing, sabotaging, and then rearing the punching bag on my bed, and anywhere I am. For Muhammad Ali had Parkinson's disease. Of course, I couldn't join the military. 21 days before the 9/11 war, I had surgery. This is 20 some odd years later, over 25 years later. That's how big the scar is still. So 6 months I was out, and then I was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia when I came back and lived with my parents. Because it runs in the family, and they had me tested, and they diagnosed me. So there was only a 6-month window I could join the military. But, I mean, I was out. I'm not even thinking about it. And I'm like, I couldn't walk for a long time. And I mean, it was only maybe they would accept, but they said, there's a good chance if you had surgery that they're not going to take it. But there is a chance if it was a small surgery. But yeah, and then the streets are B and F, and then the 2 N's, and they've been doing Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox UCMJ, and that's where they're using the camera for emergency services, real portals to hit me with cars to help their Parkinson's con it. And then they got Dunkin' Donuts, Cop Donuts with the KIN.
And then, of course, it's all over Maryland, Washington, D.C., Bloody Mary Boogeyman. So that's where they're at. So they're still doing the all the rape bait hitman shit at me after their mishit. Plus, again, with the polygamy police doing the hallway of hell and their look-alike harem entrapment. I'm like, what is this, like a sex tax con? Because isn't the whole thing where you can't have a harem in the USA over taxes and for marriage taxes or something? It's like a tax sex stalker con or something. But anyway, I am fully aware that there is the Ninth Amendment, that the government shouldn't be involved in people's personal lives. So I know they wouldn't try to set me up with females. You know, that's not their job. Their job is to, run the country and collect taxes and run the country. They're not a dating service. And also then with the church, I'm an omnis eclectic. So I don't go to church. You're not, Christians are not obligated to marry another Christian. Okay. Legally in the USA, and then even philosophically to the religion, that's not a requirement. But they have ostracized me and are outcasting me and alienated me from the church. And then half of their stuff is like demon rules and you're in hell. I'm like, oh my God, how many hamburgers am I going to have to eat over metaphorical hell? Yeah. But yeah, I'm fully aware of the 13th Amendment in this country. So regardless of if there are soulmates or not, there's still freedom in the USA. So they're not obligated to me. I'm not obligated to them. And that wouldn't constitute a marriage from the beginning. Beginning marriage, boogeyman, Bloody Mary? That's where their divorce devil hustle is. Really? Like, just shut up. There ain't no marriage beginning on, like, look-alike hoes. They ain't getting half a shit. I'm gonna sue them for identity theft, if anything.
I also think a lot of this is on a backronym of home, where they're doing a lot of Middle Eastern hearing or eavesdropping. Middle Eastern eavesdropping overreach hustle. So that's a big part of it. And of course, that's a brick alley that they have a gas meter and fence on. But, I think a lot of this is on Elvis Presley. I always think of Blue Moody. I own that record. I had the Blue Moody. But, the fools rush in. But, like, what are they trying to do? Get me to, help a hoe and then kill me and claim they had to put me down? I don't know. They're all con artists, just straight up bar hooch. I'm just trying to, bust this out, get them all, we're gonna bust it out, at least, and off my case, so I can live my life again. You know, that's what terrorists do. They disrupt your daily life.